Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. So I'm Kayla. Like I said, I'm a senior majoring in environmental engineering. I am a 2022 Goldwater Scholar, and I wish to research planetary science. So a lot of my research hones around um, kind of finding out if there is or once was life on Mars, and then other planets within our solar system and outside of our solar system. And so I love planets, I love space, I love exploring the unknown. So that's kind of what my research is on. Yari, what is your research on? What is your name? What's your major? And okay, you're a freshman, sorry. So what do you wish to research? What do you hope to research, or what do you hope to get out of research at Central? Anything that interests you? I know you're going into business finance. So what does that kind of entail? What kind of sparked your interest there?
So before I came to college, I'm 20, so I
Okay.
took like a little gap year. But in high school, I was interested in real estate, so I got into real estate during high school. I sold my first house before I graduated,
Oh,
and then
congratulations.
I sold three more houses after that, which kind of sparked my interest in like, okay, entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. But then I didn't want to go to college at the time, so I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I tried it out, and I was like, okay, maybe I should go to college to get a better understanding, get my feet wet a little bit more. And so then I went to the business side, and then real estate, finance and real estate kind of go hand in hand a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know a lot of people who do finance and they do like real estate, so like they try to I'm trying to think like they either try to help somebody sell a business or get somebody to buy a business, and they help with all the back end stuff like funds or how much you're going to need. It's just stuff like that. So I figured they just go hand in hand. So I would definitely want to have that thing under my belt, basically.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so Dr. Schlag, Mrs. Hayes, or Dr. Aiken, you all have anything to say just about the Goldwater? I know all of you have experience with these type of scholarships, so anything that you would like to say about it or how prestigious it is coming from a faculty standpoint?
Yeah, this really is one of the top scholarships in the country, and it's not just about the little bit of monetary award that you get with it. It's more about the prestige, and a lot of other major scholarships look to the Goldwater as one of the vetting process uh, components. So, like for Truman and Rhodes, if they see that you're a Goldwater scholarship winner already, that already puts you up in another classification above everybody else. It's also huge for graduate schools. Graduate schools that see you as a Goldwater winner either are going to give you money or they're going to give you the best assistantships to attend grad school. So, a couple of my students in the past that have Goldwater scholarships went on to do research at major universities, and they made a lot of money while the university paid for them to get their doctorate. So one student was, I think, about $75,000 a year that she made while she was going to school and getting her doctorate, and the other one was about 55,000 a year. So it really does kind of help launch and propel you into a different level of classification of student.
100%. And you told me that even after I won it, of course, I knew the benefits of it, but when you kind of broke it down to me, you were like, Kayla, do you realize what this will do for you? Even after Central, I was like, it just opened my eyes even more. And so it's one of those scholarships where, like Dr. Schlag said, it'll open up so many doors for you. And I know I'm kind of hitting on number 3 on our agenda, but having an HBCU win and win repetitively or even apply repetitively is huge. That just puts our name out there even more. That just shows that we're capable and we can compete with these top schools like Yale, Harvard, even Spelman, even Morehouse, even the higher end HBCUs that have more funding, all this stuff. So we know that these schools with a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of resources, doesn't matter because we know that we can compete, we can succeed. And yeah, it just doesn't matter. And so I don't think that's what kind of, yes, I was a bit nervous going into it because you're competing with people from all over the country, but at the same time it's even more of the fact that even though you're applying, that's huge, and if you want to go to graduate school one day, it's a great application to prepare you for that because it is a very strenuous, very long application, and I will go into that as well. I'll even show mine for reference. But definitely, Dr. Schlag, thank you. Mrs. Hayes, did you have anything to add to that?
I would just be repeating, if anything, what Dr. Schlag said. I think that because the access to these scholarships are so new to Central State students, it creates a really great opportunity for students like yourself to not only benefit from all of the opportunities that they represent, but to kind of carve out your mark in history at the university. Because at some point, I know that Dr. Slack will want to create this Hall of Fame for the Honors College. And of course, all of the scholarship recipients would be part of that Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this too, Kayla, nothing breeds success like success. So by you getting this and putting forward Central State in such a positive manner, now people are going to start looking and seeing Central State, and they'll think, oh, okay, Central State already had a Goldwater winner, and that's just going to help other students in the future. So we need to keep that going, and I appreciate you putting this momentum forward and helping other students to create that pipeline.
For sure. I felt like it's one of those things where so many students on Central State's campus are capable. They have the intelligence, the drive, the determination to do it. And unfortunately, some stuff are more accessible at some schools than our other schools, and that's just how it is. But me kind of like having this passion of, okay, I want at least 4 or 5 people to apply every year from this point forward. And, Dr. Schlag, me and him talked about it. And I'm like, even after I graduate 40 years from now, I still want to have at least 4 or 5 students applying every single year. And, some of that times that may fluctuate, for whatever reason. But I think that even seeing Central State's name pop up in the Barry Goldwater application pool just year after year after year is what's going to keep us that momentum going, even after scholars after me continue to graduate and move on with their career. I still want to keep that kind of flow going. And so I'll get into all of the campus-wide things and the national-wide things, because even before I applied, I had to read up on it. And again, it was intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. It was like, okay, competing with the entire country on this. I'm used to applying to scholarships that are with Central State students or with other HBCU students, but the entire country is intimidating. But once I kind of got into the application, started writing down my credentials, I started to get more and more confident because I had put in the work previous to allow myself to get to this point where I could have confidence in what I'm doing, have confidence in what I know I want to do, and kind of just put my interest and my excitement into something that is, bigger than me. It's bigger than me. And me winning this is even bigger than me. It's for my campus as well as all other HBCU campuses, all other Black students who wish to go down a research career. So it wasn't just for me, it was for everybody. So that's how I like to think about it. Dr. Akins, did you have anything to add to this?
Although I agree with everything you said, Kayla, and everything Dr. Schlag and Mrs. Hayes have said, what I do know overall, all of that is that you're wonderful, and that I appreciate you bringing this to Central State's campus and to make sure our students can follow in your path and making that path easier for them. What you've done for Central State, you didn't even know at the time when you came to me and said, I hate to brag on myself, but this is what I won. And I went to Dr. Schlag and said, Dr. Schlag, I don't know if you know, but, and he even had to emphasize with me how big the Goldwater was. So, from that point, just a few months ago until where you are now is just phenomenal. And I'm so happy that you're bringing this and trying to uplift the rest of the students on campus. And I thank you for that. And I'm happy that our students are benefiting from your excellence.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was so sweet. Yeah, I definitely didn't. I went into Dr. Aiken's office and I was just going to talk to her because I hadn't talked to her in a couple weeks. And I went in there and I'm like, Dr. Aikens, I don't want to like, but I won the Goldwater. And she's like, okay, that sounds like a big deal. And at this point, I hadn't even met Dr. Schlag yet because he was still relatively new to the university. And so when I met him, he was just like, you realize what you did. And I'm like, I guess so. So that's what I'm saying. Like that feeling of knowing that I did it not only for Kayla, but for Kayla's campus and Kayla's family, and then the entire African-American community, another thing that we've accomplished, that just to me in that moment was just, again, way bigger than myself. And so thank you, Dr. Aikens. Thank you, Mr. Sace. Thank you, Dr. Schlag, for guiding me and for allowing me to be this within the Central States community. And again, I want to see more I want to see more Goldwater scholars from Central State University. And, it'll come. And this is why I wanted to do something like this, just to give my personal experience about it. And then give the website and give kind of a navigation thing for the website and eligibility and all that stuff. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so moving forward. So Mrs. Sarah Jones wanted me to overemphasize for the scholarship that a lot of people may not know this, but it is for US citizens only. And I will go into the website and how that is broken down as well. And I already kind of talked about the HBCU significance and how we're showing up in the application pool repetitively, but I think that is essential, not only to bring publicity to Central State, but also bring publicity to HBCUs around the country. And so that's kind of why I want to have 4 or 5 students apply every year, just to keep the momentum going and to not be discouraged if we don't get another scholar for a couple of years. It doesn't matter. And Dr. Schlag even told me how long it took for him with some of his students to obtain that. I don't know if you want to hit on that, Dr. Schlag, but just kind of the persistence that you have to have with kind of these kind of scholarships. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, we might have some of the best students apply and they won't get it, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then some year, you just never know what they're evaluating on the other end or what connections someone might have. But if we have that steady pipeline, that's really the key to getting more and more people, and just educating them about this opportunity and taking the time to really do the applications right. You're the expert on our campus right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one who put together a packet that was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we need to do is have as many people try and follow that pattern and learn from your expertise as possible.
Yeah, once you told me that, and you have been in academia for quite some time, and I'm like, okay, so, even him telling me that after I had won, I had realized who I was competing against, how many other HBCUs got awarded. I don't remember the exact number, but it was not over 10 schools, HBCUs. And just kind of looking at the statistics of it all, it kind of put his words into perspective. And I'm like, okay, this is what this means. So I think having my thoughts on it, like you said, coming from someone who had won, but coming from a fellow HBCU student, I think that's huge. So yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. And so I will share the requirements for the Goldwater. I'll also share the mission statement that they have. So eligibility requirements. I'll go into kind of psych majors and kind of how the humanities can kind of fit into this. This is more of a STEM related research scholarship, but there are a little bit of stipulations when it comes to your research goals in the future. And so I'll kind of go through which psychology majors have gotten the Barry Goldwater and what they went on to research. And so that's kind of the crossover between STEM and humanities with that. I'll go over the process from where it starts from your application to the campus rep, your pre-application, all the way down to your real application, all the way down to submitting. So I'll kind of go through the whole steps of that. I'll go over the application I wrote. And one thing I did want to express a lot for all the freshmen and sophomore, I know juniors it's a little tight just because of the timing that it is now. And you can still have successful application without research experience. But to make your application more competitive, to make your application stand out a little bit more, and to convince the committee that you want to do research as a career, it's not essential, but it can heavily help you if you have had research experience. I think one of the things that they answer in the kind of the facts page is, do I have to have research experience? And they're like, no, but how else are you going to convince them that that's what you want to do with your life? And so that's one thing I would heavily consider doing. If you are a freshman, sophomore, junior, you can still kind of pull it off a little bit. If you need help with that, I'd be happy to help with looking for internships or just research on campus. But yeah, and then I will go over what is expected post being awarded and post graduation from undergrad. I did not know this before applying. I applied, I got it, and then once they kind of send me the packet and everything, I probably should have known this, but this is really to ensure that you want to pursue research, is that they're going to expect you to kind of give them proof after you graduate, saying what you're doing now, how is your research going, because they award you based on if you want to do research. And so again, I just want to heavily emphasize the fact that if you do not want to do research as a career, this is probably not the scholarship for you. But if you do want to, and you kind of fall into the eligibility requirements, then this is definitely for you. And so, and then we can go into questions. And if you ever have questions after the fact, just call me, text me, email me, and then we can talk about it more. And so, okay, so I'll kind of go to the website now. It is, let's see. Okay.
While you're doing that, Kayla, let me just say this. So you were one of 12 college students in Ohio to receive the prestigious award. Only 5 of them were for public institutions. There were over 5,000 outstanding college sophomores and juniors who applied. There were 1,200 from 433 institutions who were nominated, and then 417 students were selected as the scholars. So that really shows, and there were not very many HBCUs, and most of these were from Harvard, Yale, Ohio State, Penn, all these major institutions. So you just proved that you can do it. If you have a great research agenda, whatever that may be, you can definitely do it.
And again, going back to those numbers and to statistics, I love math, I love numbers, and when you kind of break it down, it's shocking, because it's like, okay, I was going up against all these people from all these higher end schools, but then once you really think about it, that kind of broke down to me what they're actually looking for. They're not looking for what school you go to. They're not looking for the amount of students that attend your school, or if it's an HBCU or not. They're looking for students who are actually wanting to contribute to research and contribute to the next generation of innovation. And so that really reassured me. I'm like, okay, so it can be a little intimidating coming from HBCU, which there's not that many in correlation to PWIs in America. So we're already outnumbered there. And then it comes down to, okay, the amount of research experience that you have and research exposure that you have. And then that can get a little dicey as well, because it just comes when it comes. And so that should definitely never discourage you. That's kind of why I didn't look at the numbers beforehand, Dr. Schlag. I was kind of just like, I'm just gonna wait and not freak out about that right now. But no, like it's definitely going to push me farther past winning. This is going to push me farther past into my graduate career and into my career, a professional career. And so thank you for sharing that. That shows the competitiveness and how it doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you're going, truthfully. And I know that saying is very overplayed and everyone says it, but truthfully, I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, where is your mind going to take you next? And so, yeah. So this is what the website looks like. Just goldwaterscholarship.gov, and you go here and it has all the 2022.
Can you all see it?
Yes, I can.
Can you see it, Dr. Schlag?
I can't.
Okay.
That's okay. You keep going.
Let me try to share it one more time. Maybe it was something. Okay. Okay, what about now?
Yari, can you see it?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Mrs.
So
Hayes,
yeah, what'd you say?
Mrs. Hayes, can you see?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay,
It
perfect.
must be me.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so this is the website, and basically if you go scroll down and say like the 2022 Goldwater is announced, and that has all the numbers that Dr. Schlag just said. It goes down into, breaks it down into major, all that stuff. You can look it up by state, school, and they put all their news on this front page as well. And then you go into the foundation thing. So you can look up who was Barry Goldwater. And you can read all that. He's basically a US senator at one point, and now he has this big trust that wants to fund the next researchers of the future. And so thank you, Barry. And they just have a bunch of cool stuff in here about previous scholars, where current scholars are going in the future, what current scholars have done, how many scholars there have been. So it's just a really cool site to just kind of look at the history and everything. And then going into the process map, this was very essential and very helpful. It kind of just breaks down where you start and then where you end up at the end. So with your campus representative posting you're basically finalizing your application on the last Friday in January, I wanted to state that I don't know how many transfer students we may have, but you can submit 5 students to actually apply for the scholarship, but only 4 of them can attend that school from, that can be their home institution. So let's just say I transferred from Michigan State or something. I would be considered a transfer student, so therefore I could be that 5th person, but the rest, only the other 4 applicants have to be Central State home from freshman year, so that has to be their home institution where they started. And so that's kind of how they get that 5th person. But basically you create a profile and can submit a pre-application. Let me see if I can pull up my pre-application. I'm not sure that I can. Give me 1 second. I may be able to pull up my pre-application. Okay, basically I think your pre-application was just your phone number, your email, your address, and then just some other basic information about yourself. It wasn't anything too strenuous. And that application is just to give the campus representative, okay, you have to upload your transcript to your pre-application as well too. So your transcript and just other basic information about yourself. And from that point, the campus representative may get 20 pre-applications at that point. Then me, Dr. Akins, Mrs. Hayes, and Mrs. Sarah Jones discussed this past week that there's going to be a Barry Goldwater kind of just probably a group of faculty that's going to sit on the board and kind of go through those pre-applications and kind of weed out who they want to actually apply for the real application. And so from that point, the campus representative will review your pre-application, and then it'll get either approved or not approved, depending on if you got into the application process or not. And so what else I must say is that you're competing with Central State students before you're competing nationally. And so there's probably going to be, I'm just going to throw out a number out there, 30 students that want to apply for it at Central State. Out of that 30, only 4 can go on, and then a 5th person that is a transfer student can go on to the final application. And then at that point, you're competing nationally. And so at that point, you have to write an essay, you have to fill out short answer questions, you have to provide your research experience, you have to provide your classes and your future classes that you will take inside your major and outside of your major. I'll show you my application. So at that point, you're competing nationally. And so then it just goes through, so you'll go through the pre-application, you can submit things, and then you will send your transcripts to your campus representative. And then I think this is more so, it depends on how Central State wants to do it. So there can even be things within those 5 students that go up to apply. We could even have certain deadlines that they have to meet for their application. So let's just say the application is due at the end of January. We say, okay, we want your rough draft of your application to be done by Thanksgiving. And by Thanksgiving, we'll go over your rough draft of your application, make changes to it, everything. And then when we come back from Christmas break, it's all finalizing and submitting. So I think all that middle stuff is kind of going through the CR stuff, the communication with them. And then from there, you upload your essay, recommendation letters you send to your campus representatives, and they upload it themselves. And then the campus representative validates everything, completes everything from their end, and then they submit it. And so it's kind of the rough draft of how all that goes. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, the steps in the application process is kind of what I want to go through. And so your campus rep will review your eligibility requirements. And then you review them first yourself to make sure that you're actually qualified and that you actually can be eligible for the scholarship. Then you go to your CR, complete the pre-application. And then once they approve you, you'll complete the actual application. And then your CR will have to nominate you. So basically turn in your application at that point, which is nominating you from Central State. And then at that point it's due. And then you just wait till March to figure out the results. And from that point, you can either win the scholarship as a whole. You can become a honorably mentioned, meaning kind of like a runner-up type. So let's just say the winners, let's just say there's 3 winners from Central State, and then the other 2 were honorably mentioned. That means they just got runner-up. So they were very, very close to being picked, but they did not get picked, but they still honorably mentioned. And my mentor at Caltech actually wasn't honorably mentioned. So she didn't win the money, but she still won the title of being honorably mentioned at Barry Goldwater, which is still huge. And then you can just not win anything at all at that point. And so those are kind of the 3 routes it can take. So even though the numbers are really high, you're competing with a lot of people, we still have amazing students that at least hopefully will be honorably mentioned. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it will go from there. And then it kind of talks how to develop your research essay. I'll show you guys my essay as well. And one thing about the Barry Goldwater, they're very specific with kind of the length of it. If it goes over, they will like deny your application. That goes for recommendation letters as well. If your recommender goes over the 2 pages, I think they will kind of not consider it. And so I think all of this is basically, you can read at your leisure. I just wanted to hit on where everything was in the website. So talk about the essay, what to include, what not to include, and then what are the best things to include to kind of make your application stand out. And then I like this page a lot. This comes from actual scholars that have won. And so, excuse me, comes from actual scholars that have won and kind of their insight on it, which I loved, helped a ton. And so there's actually one that comes from HBCU students as well that I have that I will share out as well. So that helped me a lot. It kind of just stemmed from seeing it come from HBCU student and kind of see how they went about it, just helped a lot. So I would definitely recommend looking at all of these sites on here and kind of looking through all the resources. And this kind of goes through the campus representative responsibilities and then recommenders responsibilities, the formats, how long it can be, stuff like that. And then the facts page. I like this page a lot. Sorry, I'm going kind of fast. Are there any questions? Specifically, Yari?
So I'm thinking, so yeah, I am in business agriculture. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking you could do research in that field, right? It's some type of research in the agriculture field.
Oh, definitely. 100%. And there's a lot of research going on in agriculture at Central State. It's an 1890 land grant institution, so a lot of the research at Central State is based around agriculture.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So okay, just checking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And what I would say to anybody watching this is, you can be really creative in your field in figuring out what research looks like. So Yari, for you, there's business analytics, there's the agriculture side that you could look at, there's food insecurities that you could look at. You could look at it in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion to make it really, cutting edge and things like that. You could talk about, you could do research on the business side of how, current agricultural policies affect minority communities. There's all kinds of really neat research going on at our university, but also other places as well. So these faculty members,
the
you can work
diversity
with them, but
that sounds
yeah, go ahead.
that's something that my family we're actually in and like involve ourselves in a lot, diversity, inclusion, and things like that around our community. So that would definitely be something I would be interested in research.
And if you have a story you can tell that's going to set you apart from other applicants in your essay, that's going to be huge. It'll, they'll remember you. Oh, okay, this is Yari whose family is doing this, and that relates to his research we really think is going to make the world a better place. That's really what they're wanting to do, is select students that are going to go out, use research to make people's lives better. So if you can make that case, and if you can really be unique and innovative and creative, I think that's going to be good for you.
100%. And what I would say, Yari, is to kind of keep it in their stipulations a little bit, taking diversity inclusion, but looking at it from the numbers side and this numbers aspect. So if you say 50,000 people were affected by systemic racism in the United States in the business agriculture field. Okay, great. So then you could break it down and be like, so 20,000 of them did this, 30,000 of them did that, and kind of break it down numerically. I think that would kind of fit the kind of STEM aspect of it while still completing something that is business related. You know what I mean? Like Dr. Schlack said, you can mend it your own way. At the end of the day, if they see numbers and mathematics and some sort of like numerical analysis, then that's what they're looking for essentially, because it is a STEM kind of based thing. But you can essentially turn any field into an experiment, an analysis, you know what I mean? And so if you find something that really catches your eye, like DEI, and you kind of look it up and you're like, okay, so how can I kind of conduct something that will allow me to look at this issue numerically and kind of break it down, make charts from it, draw like conclusions from it, all that kind of stuff. That is what they're looking for. And you can definitely do that. You can do that and you can do one thing that so obviously we're in undergrad. And so obviously my research interests may change slightly as I get into grad school and into my career. But you can have multiple different research experiences too. If you want to focus curriculum agriculture for a year and then go to the business analytics side for a year and then merge them in a year, like you can do whatever you want. They just want to see where your mind is at and what kind of research you're trying to accomplish in the future.
Got you. Okay.
But do note that it's like natural sciences, it's mathematics, it's engineering, it's the STEM fields. But if we could come at it from a creative approach, like I think Mrs. Hayes wrote housing in there. I don't know necessarily that housing would be part of it unless you're mathematically somehow looking at housing. I think there really are. What I've noticed is it's a lot more about sciences and engineering. And so I think you'd have to have some kind of hook, Yari, to pull in agriculture or analytics into all that. Into what you're doing.
Yeah, something with numbers and mathematics to even maybe kind of pair it with it. So you could look at farming and then kind of look at trends over time and kind of see how that can affect crop growth and then how, stuff like that. Like just kind of like merging it a little bit, like they're just like kind of spinning it a little bit to make it more STEM, but kind of mushing your interests together in a way.
Okay. That's like a good idea.
Just as a side note, the business department, the College of Business does a lot of work with the USDA on campus, and the Ag Business program works closely with the College of Business on a lot of different projects and grants. So just something you might want to look into with Dr. Reed and Dr. Phipps and their business interests. I know Dr. Phipps has some USDA grants coming in the next couple of weeks. So just something to look with the ag business side of things.
Okay, definitely, yeah. Dr. Reed's actually my professor too, so I'll definitely try to talk to him maybe tomorrow about it.
Mm-hmm. And that could be honors project right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing that I wish I would have said at the banquet, your honors projects can definitely turn into lifelong research careers if you want to take it there. And so I feel like these little spurts of honors projects that you have over semester are great for, you know, making your college career more well-rounded and making your resume and CV more well-rounded once you apply to graduate school, a job, wherever you choose to go. But if you choose to go into research, take these honors projects seriously, because you can definitely pull little ideas from each one that you do that can contribute to the greater research goals that you have for yourself in the future. And so I definitely think these honors college projects are essential for students that want to go into research. And especially if you want to apply for the Goldwater, I think that they're huge. They doesn't, in research, people feel like you have to do research for years and years and years to be able to call yourself a researcher. I've been doing it for a year, and it's like I've accomplished more than I could have ever thought I could. And who knows how much you can accomplish in a semester, let alone a year. And so you can go on to publish these honors college projects as well. Like that's a whole nother conversation. Sorry, I'm getting really nerdy, but though that's huge. So definitely do not take these honors college projects lightly. And I completely skipped this page as our mission, but basically they want to like find students that have the potential for a significant future contribution to research in their chosen field. So whatever you choose to do, even in planetary science, the stuff I'm doing now, again, I don't have to be doing in the future. I could be doing other realms of planetary science and still be in my field. I think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for versatility. And Yari, I think you have a great foundation right now, even though you started school 3 weeks ago. Like, I think you have a great foundation right now in terms of where you can take your research and how it can benefit humanity. And so I think that's the whole bigger picture here. So definitely I skipped that part, and feel free to go back and read it. I've read it a billion times, but it's helped me kind of figure out where this foundation is going. And yeah, so going back to the facts page, they have all these amazing questions and say, why should I apply? How can I make myself more competitive, and have a whole big thing here. And so basically, like they said, one of the best ways you can demonstrate a passion for research is by doing research. And so again, it's not required, but it's definitely going to make you more competitive. It's definitely going to make you stand out more, because I guarantee you 99.9% of the other applicants have done some sort of research. And so I'm not going to say they're just not going to look at your application if you have no research, but you're going to have to do a really hefty job in your essay in trying to convince them why you want to do this for the rest of your life. And that can become kind of a burden. And so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to hit on.
Can I just be honest?
Uh-huh.
You're not going to get a Goldwater from Central State if you haven't done some type of research. And what really helped you is not only did you do research at Central, you also had other places where you were doing it. And my two other recipients, they also had gone to different universities over the summer and conducted some research. So I really think we're because we're not Harvard or Yale or Ohio State, there's going to have to be some type of previous experience with research.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I even talking to one of my mentees and talking to one of the other scholars, I said, she doesn't have any research yet. Should she apply? And he gave me all these other stipulations of if like maybe you've done lab work for a class and that kind, you can kind of spin it that way. But he was like, to be completely honest, you're applying for a research scholarship, and if you don't have any experience yet, they're probably going to be a little bit reluctant in giving you the money. Okay, again, it's not about the monetary value. They know it's about the prestige behind it. They definitely know. But they're going to be very reluctant in awarding you versus, giving it to you all the way or not giving it to you at all. It's kind of like a fine line there. And so that's why I encourage freshmen to attend, because you can't even apply yet, but you have a whole year to kind of get research under your belt. And even after that, if you don't have any or you're not satisfied with the research you've done, you still have another year to kind of figure it out. And so, yeah, I mean, and again, not everyone in undergrad have the access to research opportunities at their institution. And so there are a lot of research opportunities. If you just look up whatever's in your field internship, I'm sure you can find something. If you ever need help with that, let me know. If you want to go into the medical field or you want to go into stuff like that, the NIH has a lot of internships.
That's the National Institutes of Health.
Yeah, sorry, National Institutes of Health. And those kind of lead to NSF grants, which is National Science Foundation. I got awarded one of those, and those are huge because they're science-based grants. So they know that they're only awarding you to do science stuff. And so that's huge. What else? If you want to go into planetary science, I got that. But if you want to
how did you find your opportunities for research, like with Caltech and Penn and stuff?
Yeah, so this is where I say you need to impress your professors at Central 150% of the time. So my academic advisor, Dr. Kendaya, he emailed me one day, and this is over COVID. So at this point, we went over COVID my sophomore year, but it was actually the spring of my freshman year. So it was like cut in half the spring semester. I'd only met with Dr. Kendaya maybe once or twice at that point because I was just a freshman. So he emails me going into the summer after sophomore year, and he says, Kayla, do you have an internship for the summer? I said, no, I don't. He said, well, someone from Caltech reached out to me. And I'm like, Caltech? I'm gonna be completely honest, I had no idea what Caltech was. Looked it up real quick, and I'm like, okay, Caltech. So I'm like, okay. And I said, I truly think that you are the best applicant for this. Out of all the students at Central State, he picked me. And I was like, okay. So at that evening, right after he sent me the email, I met with my advisor at Caltech and my advisor at Penn State. And from there, it was just, you basically are continuing to showcase yourself. So what I've learned from kindergarten to 12th grade, right under my parents, to that first year of college being on my own, and then, coming back home, but still kind of thinking on my own a little bit. It was a mix between what my parents have gave me and what Central has given me at that point. And so I had to basically show that I'm an HBCU student, a Black woman, but I can do this. And so basically, when your professors know that your interests rely outside of things that Central doesn't have at the current moment, they can point you in the right direction. They're friends with all of these people. Like, they know everyone. Academia is quite small, and I'm learning that. Everyone knows everyone in academia. And so I highly recommend to continue to impress your professors, not only with your classwork and coming to class. That's the bare minimum. That's what you're here to do. Outside of that, even following up them after class, or going to office hours even when you don't need to, making yourself seen is huge. And I know that was really tough over COVID because we were via Zoom and stuff, but even me, I would email them after class just so they know my name, just, get my face out and get my name out there. And this is huge when it comes to recommendation letters too. I have a lot of friends who have tried to get recommendation letters from professors where they've never even been to their class. They haven't turned in a single assignment. And I'm like, how are you going to get a recommendation letter and they don't even know that you're a good student? You know what I mean? That you whatever you show your professors from day one of the semester is what they know. It's not like high school where you're with them all year and you can have them, multiple times. You definitely will have professors multiple times, but you have them for very short periods of time. So if they weren't pleased with your performance in that 4 months of a semester, you may not have them for 2 more years in your senior year. It's like, how are you going to ask them for recommendation? And that's all they know from you. You know what I mean? And so recommendation letters are huge. I'm sure that's what got me a boost in my application. Just, yeah, they were from, you know, other institutions that are big in academia, but what they said about me, I didn't even know. That was, you know, that shocked me. I knew I'm hardworking, I'm a good student, I do what I'm supposed to do, but what they said about me really meant a lot, and I'm sure it meant a lot to the committee at Barry Goldwater. And so showing that you're a good person in between being a good student is humongous. And so that's one of the main reasons why like making sure your professors know who you are and know your name. When people say your name, they're not like, oh, him, or oh, her. They're like, oh, her. No. Yeah, you know what I mean? That kind of reaction. And so you never know when you're going to need a recommendation letter, ever. You never know. 10 years from now, you could be like, hey, I know we haven't talked in 10 years. I don't know if you remember me, but they're like, oh, of course I remember you. Yeah, I'll write your recommendation letter. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of what I would say about that. And thank you, Dr. Schlag, for bringing that up. Because you never know. Dr. Kandiah I knew I loved space. He knew I wanted to go somewhere in that industry. And yeah, like, he could have picked someone else that also wants to go into the space industry, but he told me, he's like, I chose you because X, Y, and Z. You're a good student. I know that you will do well. And he even told me, he said, I was nervous putting you up for a Caltech internship as a sophomore. I'm not gonna lie, Kayla, I was nervous, but you continue to show that you can handle it. And now other people in academia are seeing that from you. You kind of make a branch for yourself. You kind of make your own little network. And so even I learned that winning Barry Goldwater, you meet some tremendous people through stuff like this. You meet some amazing people that other students that can help you with like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm struggling to find this. Do you know anyone I can talk to? They go, oh yeah, someone in my school I can do it. And you kind of exchange information that way. So these are the best friends and best influences that you can have around you are professors, truthfully, and just faculty in general. Getting really, really cool with Mrs. Hayes, Dr. Schlag, and Dr. Akins, seriously, and having them know not only your accomplishments, but who you are, it's huge. And it can take you a long way. That's a big part of this application as well. And so, yeah, so if you wanna pursue a medical degree, again, it has to be a research intended. So if you want to go into get your MD but practice medicine, you can do that, but there has to have some sort of element of research along with that. And so you have to convey that to them as well. What else did I want to get here? I don't know if this applies to anyone. I don't know, Dr. Schlag or Mrs. Akins, Dr. Akins or Mrs. Hayes. I don't know if this applies to anyone, but the 5-year bachelor's and master's degree at Central, I don't know if that exists here.
I think they're working on it, but people can read that in their own particular situation, I think.
Okay, awesome.
Can anybody hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes. It's 7:30. Unfortunately, I have step practice, probably like the step team here.
Okay.
7:30. So I was gonna say, so this is recorded though, right?
Yeah, I'll make sure you get it.
Gotcha. Okay, yes. And before I go, Mr. Schlag, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Schlag, yeah.
Schlag, sorry. I saw a thing about the FBI internship or anything like that, and
I saw that too.
yeah, and I was like, I was kind of interested. I was kind of interested in that too, and I just didn't know how to go about that.
Okay, send me an email and I will shoot you contact information for. We have basically a recruiter kind of assigned to Central State, and I'll put you in touch with her.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I'll do that when I get back from practice. It'll probably be later on tonight, so you probably won't see the email till tomorrow morning or something like that. But I'll definitely email it. Thank you, Ms. Kayla, for
Thanks.
Thank you, no problem.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. I think this is my last or couple last things. Going to psychology. So she wants to go into social psych, and you can go into cognitive psychology, stuff like that. So that's kind of how the humanities can blend with STEM a little bit. And I kind of want to show this is a winner. She won this year with me. Have no idea who she is, but she goes to Cal State Fullerton. So congrats to her. But yeah, it has all the winners here. If you're ever interested in seeing other opportunities that people have, I'm sure they all have LinkedIn's. You can look them up and email and be like, hey, I saw that you were a Goldwater winner. I'm interested in what you're doing. Is there any way you can you know, that's how you kind of create your own little network. I think, oh, this is another thing I wanted to show. They have a webinar archive on here, and it basically has webinars from the past few years that this is the one they had for last year. And so this is NSF grant, graduate research fellowship. That's probably what I'm going to apply to when I started going to grad school. But they have little webinars from Goldwater faculty members as well as students that have won it or are intending to apply and stuff like that. So these webinars were extremely helpful. They come from students all over the country, and they're really helpful in terms of what the Goldwater is, how it will help you in applying, and whatever help you may need. I think that was it. You can just play around with the website and kind of find other things that you may need. I think that was it on my little agenda. Oh yeah. So yeah, after you graduate from Central and you've won and everything, I just want you to know this going in. Like I said before, you have to be sure that you want to go into research because they will be following up with you. Now, I am not exactly sure how that is yet. I'll get the information soon, but they basically will verify that you are doing what you said you're going to be doing. And they really do take it serious. So if you do not want to go into research or you're second guessing yourself, give yourself another year to kind of figure it out. But if you are serious and you do want to apply, then know that all this goes into it beforehand.
So other than being recognized with this distinct honor, what's the actual monetary award right now?
So it is up to $7,500 a year. And so it depends on how many scholarships you have previously. And so I did not get that much because I already have like 4 other scholarships. So they kind of like weighed it out. So if we give her this much money, like they kind of want to pay the difference essentially. And so obviously when you go to a higher costing school like Yale or Harvard, you probably will use all that $7,500, but Central has a very affordable education. It's very affordable. And I've been stacking up scholarships for over the past few years. And so mine was roughly $2,800, $2,900. And so you get that, you can use it however you want to use it to. It's not just for tuition, it's not just for books. You can use it for food. They want you to use it because you're a college student. They want you to use it for whatever you need to use it for. A lot of students tend to use it for tuition, but some students may need it for books. They need to cover books or something, or need to cover housing for that semester. So that's another thing I really like about the scholarship. It's not just targeted towards a specific use. It's targeted towards whatever you need, which is very helpful as well. And yeah, Dr. Schlag said
it's just one time.
No, so basically when you apply, so if I applied, I technically applied as a sophomore, even though I was a junior, credit hour wise. I say that because I'm on a 5-year track. And so I applied as a sophomore, told them that I was in my 3rd year, I'm on a 5-year track, but I still have 2 more years left. And so when I applied, I got 2 years of funding instead of the 1. They expect you to be on or not expect you, but typically people are on a 4-year track, but some students are on a 5-year track, and engineering can do that to you. So
engineering.
Yeah. So I applied as a sophomore, even though I was a junior at the time. And so I got 2 years. If you apply as a junior or you only have 1 year left, you only get 1 year funding left. So it depends on how you apply. If you apply as a junior, you're only getting 1 year of funding. If you apply as a sophomore, you're getting 2 years of funding. So once you apply, you don't have to apply again. You got it. You won. They just deposit your money, whatever deposit you give them. And yeah, thank you, Dr. Schlag. I'm totally forgetting.
But then there's a multiplicative effect. It's not just that, small monetary amount. It's the fact that you're now a Barry Goldwater scholar and all the other opportunities and funding that opens up to you.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm actually the HBCU outreach chair at Barry Goldwater right now. I kind of went to their little diversity and inclusion meeting back in May, and I was just, trying to see how they're trying to diversify the Berry Goldwater community. And I loved all their efforts, but I'm like, there needs to be more HBCUs winning, just more people of color winning. So I'm like, is there HBCU wing here? And they're like, oh, we're working on it, but not really yet. So I was like, I'll do it. So I've been the HBCU outreach chair. I made a whole spreadsheet of the HBCUs, their campus representatives, their numbers, their emails. And I've been emailing campus reps just saying, hey, I'm a recent Berry Goldwater winner. We have the Berry Goldwater mentorship program, which I need to talk about that as well. I was about to get to that. If you have students that are interested in this, please feel free to go to this link, have them fill out the link, and kind of reaching out to other schools that don't have as many winners or any winners yet. And so that mentorship program is basically a program where we sent this out before the end of the school year. So I may have Dr. Aiken send out again for people to kind of look at again. And she sent another one recently as well. So, but basically it's a mentorship program where you can be matched with a current Goldwater scholar. And in that Goldwater, with you and that your mentor, you basically talk about the application process, will make you successful. And then even outside the application in Berry Goldwater, they're a mentor for you. So whatever you need, internship help, fellowship help. I can even have a mentor with another scholar that's in planetary science. They can help me get grants or whatever, just helping each other out within this science academic space community. And so I've learned over the summer, academia is it's tough. And if you really want to go into it, you have to know that you want to go into it. And so it's very competitive as well. Grants, and you're constantly writing proposals. So being in a community like this where there's constantly proposals flying around and grants flying around and fellowships flying around, like you get so much out of the community besides the monetary value of it. It's so much more. It's so much more to be surrounded by people who are like-minded, who really care about academia and research. And you guys just share stuff with each other. So I have one mentee right now. I'm looking for a couple more. And then from that, I can only take on so much from Central. But at that point, I would redirect students to the Berry Goldwater link that will have all the rest of the scholars from all different schools. I have one, and you can get matched up with one of them, and they can coach you through the application process and even beyond that. And so it's a really great program. It's been so lovely being around so many amazing people. I'm even bringing Berry Goldwater business cards to the HBCU Thurgood Marshall Convention in September. So I'm trying to spread the word to all the HBCUs I can, so we can build a greater HBCU community within the community. So yeah.
Great.
I think that's all I have.
All right. Do you want to stop recording?